Are we live? Are we live? Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jennifer. How are you doing?
I am good. I am recovering from turkey coma and all the fun stuff that happened.
Oh my, yeah. I didn't. I had a little bit of a turkey coma, but I had more like a family time overdose connectivity with all the family and doing that sort of thing, which is takes. It was not bad, but it did take a lot of energy out of me. I was like, okay, that's enough humaning for the year.
Well, we've talked about that on just like the draining and energizing and those times, sometimes those moments, as much as like it's great and wonderful when you leave, you're just like, like done.
Exactly right. Well, my brother, I guess the guy would be my brother-in-law. He made a churro cheesecake. Oh my God, it was so good. So it was like, it was like cheesecake, and then it had like a layer of whatever, some kind of pastry on the bottom and on the top, cheesecake in the middle, and then it was like all cinnamony and son of a gun. It was so good, so good, like really good. You think anybody showed up today for our live stream?
I don't know. I had people that said they were going to be here.
Oh, well, who's out there in the omniverse? Are you out there? Are you lurking? Because if you are, that's okay. You are welcome to lurk. But let us know if you're there so we can give you a shout out. And we're going to be talking about defining moments today, Jennifer.
Yes.
And you kicked me out of the after party last time.
I did not. You self-selected.
Oh, you know what's interesting? Okay, so not sure why, but I see, oh my God, we do have people there, but it's just not coming up on the thing. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. You know this person?
I do. Buddy, good morning.
Buddy. I see. I wonder if there's like a security setting or something. Or if you're coming in on LinkedIn, I can't really see your comments aren't coming up. But I see Mayra. So Mayra Martinez says, I hope I can wake up early enough. Oh no, these are old comments.
Yes.
She says she was hoping Josh, we'll see if Josh shows up. Lance usually shows up.
Oh, here we come. Here comes
Here we go. Now we got the comments coming in. Miss Sarah coming in again from the YouTube, the fellow conspirator.
Yep. She said good morning. LinkedIn's got some issues. She moved over to YouTube.
All right. Well, heads up, y'all. If LinkedIn is acting funky, just jump on over to YouTube because we're going live there too. And look, we got somebody new, Jen. She says, I'm new, first time. My sweet high school friend, Sarah, introduced. So Sarah, thank you for recruiting.
Yes.
Jen, let us know, please. Dump your experience, your thoughts, your questions in the comments, and welcome.
Yes, we already know you're going to bring fire because that, like people that are named Jen just do that sometimes.
Oh, troublemakers in the world. Mr. Jim Guttorius, what's going on, Mr. Jim?
Good morning.
I'm wondering if he's on the deck or you're scheming. I know you got another big event coming up in the DF Dub. We'll see if I can make it this time. I really want to make it. Here we go.
They're starting to come. They're starting to roll.
Yep, we got Miss Leslie coming in from New York City. How you doing, Leslie? The conflict strategist. Did I get that right?
Yes. We've just got some rock stars in this band.
Oh my God.
In this tribe.
Yes. So, Jen, could you let the people know the deal with the Blue Hearts?
Yes. So we have a couple things. So number one, Jen, this is specifically for you this morning. I'm talking to you, but that way, in case anybody else is listening and wants to know. So if you are a first time typing, adding your comments to our conversation, we want to celebrate you for a couple of reasons. One is because you made the jump and you're now contributing. But two, we have an amazing tribe that will help support and will help connect and will help, hey, I know you and you're, and hey, can we get together for lunch, those kind of things. And so if you are a first time dropper of amazingness, put a blue heart in the comment, and that lets the rest of our tribe know, like, hey, you're new, and they need to like come in and connect with you, and and just kind of get information about you. But also, then it kind of helps you learn who's in our tribe. So, Jen, this is specifically for you. But if anyone else is out there and they are not sure what to type yet, and you just kind of want to sit, and you can put a blue heart and let us know you're there, and that way we at least can give you some love.
Yeah, we gotta love on each other.
We got another first timer. Blue heart.
What's up, Matt? Coming in from YouTube. It's his first time here. Came in on the YouTube to be seen. Man, Matt, appreciate you being here. Let us know what you think. Folks, if you're coming in from LinkedIn land, it seems to be there's some funkiness going on. But you can catch the replay and all the other stuff. Jim says he couldn't see the comments on LinkedIn. He's also on YouTube. We are having a YouTube exodus. I love it.
How do they, Jesse, will you let them know, for those that maybe are on LinkedIn listening, how do they get to the YouTube? Is there a certain way? Do they just go on YouTube and type it up?
I guess. I don't know.
I didn't know. I thought we had a link somewhere that took them there, but maybe not.
No idea. But I think Matt and James and Jen and Sarah. So if y'all put some instructions, I'll flash them on the screen so other people can see them. You know what also could be contributing to it, Jen, is we're live streaming on a bunch of different platforms.
Yes.
So like if you're watching it from LinkedIn and a comment comes in from YouTube, you won't see it until I bring it up.
True.
And vice versa.
Right.
So like if you're commenting on LinkedIn and if somebody's commenting on LinkedIn and somebody's watching it on YouTube, you won't see that. That right sense. Until I do this, bring it up. So Miss Jen dropped the blue heart. That means give her a follow, give her some support so we can learn and grow together.
Yes.
So Jen, like y'all kicked me out of the last after party. Oh, here we go. We got some instructions. Man, look at Matt. First time, and he's
already on it.
Real. He says he just went to YouTube and searched "No BS" with Jen and Jess, and clicked on the profile pic, and bam, it came up live. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. So I'm gonna leave those instructions up there for folks if they're having, if it's wonky. And Jen, like, again, I was rejected, kicked out, put into exile from the last after party. So can you help me understand what we're talking about today?
Okay, let's first, there's already some shenanigans going on right now. So first, Jesse had a potential conflict, and he usually is the moderator of the after party. And so he says, hey, Jen, like there's a good chance I'm not going to be there. It's all on you now. So that's pretty much how it started. And so we had our normal crew come in after every live stream. We do a LinkedIn live like audio event. So then we get to hear your voices and you get to contribute to the conversation. And so we were in the after party, and it was fire as usual, because we dig deeper and it's a smaller group. And so and then some of the things that were talked about, I think it was a carryover from the conversation the week before the previous live stream, but it came down to some of those things that happened. First of all, I had a ton of stickies from that conversation. So let's just go with that. A lot of ideas. And then when Jesse and I got together and started kind of thinking about what the next one would look like, what I think resonated with me the most from that conversation was those defining moments in our life that maybe we intentionally like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen. And on the other side was something that we didn't predict, but it like shifted something and made us go in a different direction, or those things that we didn't plan for and we got through them. And then all of a sudden, like, it was scary, but then like, oh, this is cool. So like those type of things in our life that are not just the typical, I got this award and I got this promotion and those type of things, but those moments in our lives that kind of defined a path or a trajectory or a shift or a change.
Okay. Okay, God, I don't know. Like, I'm still just kind of recovering from being rejected and put into exile. But I think luckily I talked to my buddy Lance coming in on the YouTube as HQ. He says, "What up, Turkey Gang?" Um, he caught me up, gave me a little bit of insight. I was like, "Man, stop telling me because I'm just getting more and more jealous." But actually, it was a good thing because I finally got the house primered. Met with my cousin and worked through that whole thing, and 5 days later, it was done. I've been talking about it for like 8 months.
Yes.
So thank you for carrying the load, y'all. We got Mr. Fernando Flores. He says, it works. And then,
heart.
Yep, Lance is telling him, throw up that blue heart, baby. Throw it up, baby. Throw it up. So yeah, this was exciting. You know, when you and I were kind of strategizing about what we were going to say or what the topic was going to be, this idea of defining moments really got me excited because there's so many, right? Like when I think about it, the book, Becoming the Promise You're Intended to Be, has a bunch of defining, like almost all of them are like defining moments. And then, but here's the other thing, like those things, like they weren't always on my mind. The fact that the experience kind of defined me as I went going forward. And so this conversation, I was like, oh yeah, like what was the shift? And so folks, as we go through this conversation today, Jen, I'm sure y'all saw my post on the LinkedIn. Jen is going to share all of her knowledge and experience about defining moments. But as we go, Shay, if you're brave enough, let us know what your defining moment was, or which one, like your favorite one, or a few of them. And the important thing is, what shift did you experience from that defining moment? What did I miss, Jennifer Lacy?
I think the only piece you missed is that this is not a Jennifer show. This is a Jen and Jeff show. So it will not just be Jennifer sharing today. It will be both of us tag teaming for sure. That's what you missed.
Oh, man. Look, Fernando ain't playing first time. And he says, it encompassed the entirety of his 2023, not only the physical aspects, but also the mental and emotional dimensions, along with all the moments that have shaped and defined it. So, yes, thank you. He's like, okay,
let's go.
Start at the beginning. Like, that's a good place to start. And so I don't know, Jen, I know you said you had a couple of special defining moments that you were going to kick us off with, or how do you want to start?
Well, I'll start with like the one I told you I had about 3 or 4 that I know I can significantly know the shift that happened. And one of them was super early on. And I think timing wise, I think with Thanksgiving and some of the things we talked about, like, I think that's where I want to start. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So those of you that are just coming in and maybe haven't been a part of this journey the whole time. So I grew up with a single father, raising 4 kids. And I was 9 when my parents got divorced. And I'm the only girl. So it's daddy and 3 brothers. And for me, a significant defining moment was, the divorce was the divorce. I was the oldest. And so in that time of my life, you're 9 and 10 years old. I remember the first Thanksgiving after my mom wasn't there. And I was, and it's a very, very defining moment to where I went from being, in a family where I was one of 4 kids to now being kind of the leader and the person that was responsible for a lot of things. And I remember the first Thanksgiving after my mom wasn't there, and my dad tasked me with making the Thanksgiving turkey. And it was always my mom's job. My mom always did that for Thanksgiving. And so I was 9, 10 years old. And I remember being in the kitchen and you had the phone on the wall with the cord and all that. And I remember like my mom being on the phone with her and like cutting up the bread and creating the stuffing and making, melting the butter and getting the turkey ready and like put in at like 10 years old. And I really don't even remember how it turned out. That wasn't the defining moment. It was the shift in my life from being, a child almost to having to be a grown up. And no ill will towards my dad, because again, he was doing a lot of things and having to be responsible for a lot. But I just remember that shift in my life to where I was now responsible for, my brothers, and I was responsible for when my dad was gone and he was working or I was doing things, and so how that, I guess the trajectory of, for me, is how I went into my teenage years being the person that, was responsible, whether it was helping daddy balance the checkbook or was making sure my brothers ate dinner and things like that. And so looking back, it wasn't I missed out on all these things. It was, I know a lot of that shift and what I did growing up led into a lot of the ways that I lead. And so
question, you're getting instructions on how to cook the turkey, and that's translating, like, walk us through that. Did that automatically translate? Okay, now I got to be responsible for the rest of my life.
No, I mean, again, you're 10. So like, I don't think the shift, I think the shift was at that moment, the responsibility that my dad, I'm not going to say put on me, but that shifted the things that he relied on me for and he expected. So I don't know, maybe I need more clarification on just it didn't shift to now I'm going to have to be this adult, but I know that was just the first big thing in a lot of things. As a child moving into, my teenage years, that my mindset had to be, I'm responsible for someone else other than myself.
Okay. And that is something that came up as a result of that experience.
Yes.
Because somebody told you, hey, get the stuffing and you're responsible for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It became all of a sudden now my actions and my things that my decisions that I did, it wasn't just, I want to stay out and hang out with my friends tonight. It was, I've got to make sure my brother has a ride home. I've got to make sure that I'm at school. I mean, like it changed the way I had to approach a lot of the choices and decisions I made as I was, a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was something like, what I'm hearing is your identity within you began to change in that moment.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, turkey, like that's a big thing on Thanksgiving. And whether it's a good meal or not, that's a lot of pressure for a young lady. Mm-hmm. But in that experience, this new awakening, like you started seeing yourself through different lenses.
Yes. And that my actions impacted other people. And I have a 12-year-old. So I know many of you can relate to children at that young of an age and the responsibilities and the decisions they make and the choices they make. And we see that, we know it's going to lead into the person they're going to be. But like I think right now, my child making a turkey, I don't even know what that would look like. And so it's like things that I was forced to do. And, again, I say these things very lightly, but it shifted my view of people and my responsibility. No, I mean, I'm going to say to the world, but like to people outside of myself. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. You got me. I got a question, but first, so it looks like LinkedIn is starting to behave.
Okay.
Yes, we can see you. And then we got Mr. Dwando coming in. Good morning.
Good morning.
So yeah, I'm not sure what was the funk, but now we're good. Somehow Steve Martin is struggling. So maybe Lance, I'm not sure what you did, but if you did some kind of cheat code so you can like make comments on the LinkedIn, if you could let people know, please. Steve is commenting, but it's not showing up.
Okay.
He says, Chief Marketeer here, worst nightmare ever, not being able to comment. So
no.
With the comment. We'll make it. We will make it. So You talked about the defining moment. How old were you when you had to do the turkey the first time?
10.
You were 10 years old. Um, and you have daughters that are around like in that age group. How many turkeys have they made?
0. They're 12 and
Zero.
15.
Yep. And so that experience for you was pretty monumental because you still remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the question, and this isn't just for you, it's for the omniverse, right? The No BS tribe out there. Like, we know that there's these moments in our life that like shift our trajectory. Why don't we create those or fabricate those defining moments for our kids or the people that we're developing at work?
Well, that's a great question. I think some of it is, I'm going to say, the trauma that I remember from it. And also, like, am I creating similar scenarios of responsibility on meals and on things that I know at their age I was already doing a lot because I had to? Where, am I making them more responsible, to be in charge of making meals for us or going to the grocery store and things like that? Like, I know that those decisions are based on what I had to do. It's definitely not, okay, I did this at your age, so you're going to have to do it at your age. Because I know most of us, we can probably go like, these are things out of necessity. These are things out of, just the situations we were in that we were forced to do. And we learned from it and we grew from it. And we, it helped us be who we are. But there's trauma and there's like sometimes they're difficult things that we had to learn from it. And so as a parent, for me, that's the biggest thing, is that balance of helping them learn and grow. And does it have to be the exact same way that I did?
Yeah.
I've learned that no, it does not.
I think there's value there. And now I don't understand because not a parent. I don't understand the concern, right? Like it's going to suck and you'll survive because everybody else has. But so like that other feeling of like, I'm worried, I don't want them to experience the pain and all of those things. I don't have that experience.
But they're suffering from other pains that I didn't have to deal with. Social media, like that stuff that it's constant and I'm having to help them navigate through that. That's not anything I had to deal with. And those are things that, like, very quick and instant things that for them, that's their world right now. And that's the world that most of us live in. And, as much as I had trauma on some other things and things that I had to deal with, at no point did I have to deal with something constantly, the barrage of some of the stuff with social media and, the world that we're living in now. So it's navigating through when to push them through something very similar, but also like, I'm trying to navigate this with them.
Yeah. Gotcha. Because you're learning. I mean, that's the interesting thing I think about parents is in the professional space, they're I shouldn't say very, a lot of people put a heavy emphasis on certifications and qualifications and all of the experience and all of these things. And they have kids. And it's like, okay, what certification did you get to be a parent? It's like the most important, heaviest responsibility in the world. You got no certification, no license, no nothing, but you just went and did it
for this human being.
Right. And you're worried about my resume? Like, come on, man. What are you talking about? Anyways, that's a Jesseism. Leslie, yes, we can see you in the comments, Leslie. Glad you're here. And then we got the chief troublemaker. Bruce says, "What's up? What up, Bruce?"
Yes.
And we got some good comments here. Fernando says, "Life did a number on you. It forced you to grow up faster than you ever should have." And I think, Jen, like everybody has that experience. And while it's painful, I feel like it's necessary, because what would the world be had you not had that experience?
100%.
And
it's the things you learn, but even back then it was, poor Jennifer, she's out, she has to go up too fast and blah, 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 blah. I just know that having to take on that responsibility at that moment, it probably made my childhood not as much child focused. And it was a lot of having to grow up faster and be more responsible. And so at that point, yes, but once I was an adult, man, I was rocking and rolling. Like there was no learning curve at like, oh, now I'm responsible for all these things. Like it, so it's like, it's, my dad had to make a choice, and it was a single father with 4 kids. And so he did the best he could, but like he prepared me for, I mean, there wasn't anything when I got out in the world that I had not already experienced.
Yes. And that's the amazing thing. I get a hard time because I'm the way I am, but when like my brother's, he's got the Raptors, right? He's got my nephew, my niece, and now a brand new baby niece is like 2 months old. And the tone that I speak to them, it's the same tone that I speak to you in. Mm-hmm. And people are like, "Hi, why are you so rough?" I'm like, they're not going to be babies forever, right? Like they got to be adults at some time. Like somebody's got to talk to them without the baby voice and baby talk. That's my philosophy. So anyways, Maria says she ponders that sometimes. Her 9-year-old could never be in charge of cooking dinner at this age. Whereas I was the family cooker at about 10 or 11, didn't think anything about it until high school. Right. And so, I don't know, but I wonder, right? Like a lot of what we do in terms of raising or developing the next generation, whether that be at work or that be at home, sometimes what we're trying to do is guard them or protect them from some of the pains that we experienced. Mm-hmm. And then like, you won't know this, but the question in my head is, okay, but like, is that indeed helping them?
Right.
What do you think about that?
No, Jen? I think it's when we're doing that, we've got to do some we've got to, in our minds, why are we doing it? If we're trying to protect them from this because we're teaching them this, or we're trying to, that maybe they don't have to go down this path, but they're learning a very similar, another approach or another way to prevent something, or just like, and that's for me, that's every day. But it's, if I'm not pushing them and making them do something that I had to do as a child, what am I teaching them instead? Or how am I helping them navigate? And that's, I mean, for me, that's been the biggest thing is it's you want to protect and you want to make sure that they're secure and they're comfortable and they're enjoying their childhood. But I also know that there's times that they're not with me. And if they are making good decisions and good choices and being able to articulate in conversations when they're not comfortable, or when they're, when something's happening and they have anxiety, like that's on me. Like I've got to help them navigate through those things, because they will not always be with me, especially they're in school. And there's so many things happening that if they can't engage and have times where they get their feelings hurt, or someone's being mean to them, or they're getting bullied, like if we're not preparing them for difficult things, then we are failing.
Oh yeah. We were just talking about that before we went online, right? Mm-hmm. Is life is hard. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. And if when I believe that it is and it's supposed to be, I struggle more.
Yes.
When I know like it's going to be tough, it's not going to work out exactly the way I want it, I'm not going to get extra credit for my beautiful, handsome smile. Like I actually have to work and earn things. Then I'm set up for success. So we got some, I'm not sure what it is, but anyway, so Leslie moved. She's on the YouTube now, the conflict strategist, because the comments on LinkedIn aren't working. They kind of are, they kind of aren't. First, I'll say this. Thank you, everybody, for like putting up with whatever glitchiness is happening out there. Yeah. I really think it's just all this awesome sexiness that I'm exuding that's causing it to glitch, because we were having problems before we went live, right, Jen?
Yes, we know it was all the magnetism over there that was causing some issues.
Steve Martin's like, oh my God, this morning was a defining moment. Getting the laugh. You made it happen, baby. That's what I'm talking about. And Sarah kind of echoes kind of what part of this conversation. She went opposite. She had experiences that made her grow up quicker. So she tries to focus on how she can help her daughter be a kid more. I get that. And hey, it's working. If it's working, keep doing it. Who else we got?
That's the learning part for me, is like how to help my child be a child more at this age when I was not. So the responsibilities and the things that were on me at 12 and 13 and 14 and 15, like I don't know what it's like to make them not be that way because I didn't experience that. And so it's like I'm learning along with them, and I can see where the pushes and the pulls and things like that. So yes, but okay. So that's wonderful. Amazing conversation. I want to shift it a little bit. So Jesse, what is the earliest memory you have of a defining moment that like had something change in you?
Oh man. I don't know about the earliest, but I have the funnest.
Okay, well, let's go with that one.
So the funnest defining moment I can remember, this one's fun. I was in high school. I think it was my freshman year.
I've heard this story.
Yeah, I don't think everybody's heard this story. This is a good one. And we ran I ended up on the cross country team kind of by accident, just because I was like, I could run naturally. Running was easy. And I was me, right? I was always joking. I was always pranking. And so when we would go to the showers, the valve to turn on the water to the showers was accessible, right? We would turn it on right there. And so what I would do is I would wait until the guys had like shampoo all in their hair and soap on their face, and I would turn off the water on them and then get out, and they'd be, because they couldn't see it. And I would do stuff like this all the time. I was always doing something goofy. Anyways, one day the guys decided, and it was winter time, it was cold. They decided to prank me back. So I'm at my locker, toweling off, getting ready to put my clothes on, and they pick me up and carry me outside of the gym. And so, the school I went to, the boys' locker room, the boys' gym was separate from the main campus. And so imagine that the boys' locker room's over here. There's a little parking lot. And then there's the girls' gym and the soccer football field over here on the far side. And so they take me outside and yank my towel. They yank my towel off of me. So I'm like naked. I ain't got nothing on. And then they close the door and hold the door closed. And, this wasn't like during school hours. This was 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, like super early, because that's what we did. We were crazy, right? And the girls were practicing soccer or something, right? They were out there practicing. And I'm like, I remember explicitly thinking, okay, I could lay down on the floor, cover up and scream and yell, or I could just be cool. So I said, well, I'm going to be cool. And luckily my truck I was parked right there in the little parking lot. I had a 57 Ford Ranchero back then. So I cover my stuff up, walk up to my truck because I knew I had my cleats in the truck. And I grab my cleat, cover my stuff up, and then wave at people because they're like, what are these naked eyes? Right? It becomes a thing. Everybody kind of like, hey, what's up, y'all? And then I walk back to, and the guys are like, man, this is cool. Like, that's not fair. You shouldn't have been able to do that. And the thought, again, it was like, what do I do now? Like, this is an impossible moment. What do I do? And I just did it. Was I terrified? Yes. Was I in bed? Like all of that, like, oh my God, it's gonna be a thing, whatever. But I decided to be cool. And then it was like, that was the thing. Like, Jesse's cool, Jesse's crazy, Jesse's wild, Jesse doesn't care. Like, all of these things happen in terms of the way people perceived me because of my response. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. And I mean, and one, I've heard this story, so I know that the person you are now and how you show up, but like, you're in high school, Jesse. So there's like a lot. I mean, all of us could probably think of something that in high school that impacted us. And so you made a decision at that point that, I'm just going to have to make a decision and do this, and we'll see what happens. Can you give me an example of a conversation that happened after that event that you were just like, oh, that wasn't so bad?
Oh God. So, I mean, that was the takeaway, right? In terms of like the question that we posted to the group, what was it? What's the shift that did you experience from the defining moment?
Lance, sorry. Lance is right. That's exactly why the fishnets are even a thing right now, Lance. Exactly.
Exactly. So what I experienced in doing that,
Mhm.
right, is that people are always watching, and people don't know what you're feeling.
Mhm.
They only know what they see, and they'll translate it and interpret it in the manner that best suits them.
Mhm.
What it did, though, is it helped me understand that it doesn't really, like, those times are scary, and there are scary times. I haven't had a scarier time than that one, right? Like when somebody said, "Hey, man, we need you to speak. We need you." I was in San Francisco doing some onboarding, and I've told this story too before. Thomas LeMay, he was onboarding me. There was this big meeting we're going to have with the designers for the expansion of the San Francisco airport, with like the city and architects and like really fancy people that I've never interacted with. I was a trade partner before that. And I had to lead the thing. Like, he's like, "Hey, bro, I'm going to be late. Like, can you get it started off?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? They can't see me naked, right? Like, so my point was, the way I respond to things when I'm unprepared, underclothed, underqualified, underexperienced, doesn't matter. What makes the biggest difference is, do I show up standing up tall, or do I cower and hide? And so it's like, that's the thing. When there's a new opportunity, or, "Hey, we want you to be an MC at this thing," but I've never done it before. All right, let's do it. And you just work with what you got. And I think that lesson came from having my towel yanked away, being stark naked in high school, freshman. Maybe I was, no, I think I was a freshman. Like, think about all the insecurities that you have as that you had as a freshman, right? Like, just all of this mess. And it was like, you either be cool or you lay down and hide. And I just couldn't hide. And so that's informed most of my decisions since then, of like, okay, maybe I don't have what I need, but I could still make something out of it.
Mhm.
What do
So
you
it kind
think?
of empowered you, not because you all of a sudden went, "This is going to lay the groundwork for the rest of my life." But at the moment, like, you made a decision and it empowered you. Because at that point, whether the
Correct.
guys were mad because you didn't get embarrassed or whatever it was, it empowered you to make some of those future, decisions on what you're going to do and how you feel from those things.
That's a good way to cover it, right? Is yeah, like, I can decide to roll with what I got and be confident about it,
Mhm.
regardless of, like, I know and I don't know, like, I didn't think about it. Well, maybe that's another important thing. Like, I didn't spend a lot of time thinking. I just said, I can do this or this. I'm going to do this, did it. And then, afterwards, I was super popular. And like, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that came with that. Had I paused to think about, what are people going to say? What if my mom finds out? What if coach finds out? What are the girls going to, like, if I would have paused to think about any of that, I would have crumbled.
Mhm.
So it was make a decision and go forward. And that we can do. Like, I don't have to be naked to do cool stuff. Right?
Okay, could we remember this clip right here?
Yeah. But I can make a decision and go forward with what I got. And that's the most important thing. Sarah says, or asks, instead of seeing my audience naked, do you just imagine yourself naked, ready to take on the challenge? Girl, yes. And I got my entry music playing, like the whole thing. That's the deal. Like, how am I going to bless this audience today is what I think of in my head.
Well, and that's part of our conversation, and I'm going to shift it because I got a freshman year defining moment too. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we talked about, when we were thinking about this conversation this morning, it's like those defining moments that when you were going into them, like, they were scary, they were unknown, you had no idea in the middle of it how it would impact on the other side. And so it's, there's significant things that happen in your life. And it's like, this is going to pave the way for me on my decision. But then there's times where you go into it, like you said, it was like you didn't have time to think. And how that then when you came out on the other side, what changed. And so
Yeah.
that kind of helped us with this conversation. And so I want to share my freshman year defining moment, which I wasn't naked. I'm going to clarify that. But so single father, again, one of those things where you're not sure what your future looks like. You're not sure where you're going to go to school. And you're like, you're like just trying to survive at that point. And my freshman year, I played basketball. And then about midway towards the end of that basketball season, I got moved up to play on the varsity. I was 6 foot tall, those kind of things. Like they have to stack the bench because they got a pretty good team. And I didn't get a lot of playing time, did a lot of practicing against the big girls to help them. And so we were in the last game of the regular season, and it was a district game. It was one of those games where we were playing the other team that one of us was going to the playoffs. So it was a pretty significant game. Stands were packed, and it was like I hadn't played. Like I was on the bench, and it was towards the end of the game, and our big girl fouls out.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of those things where you're a freshman, so the fear factor of just you don't want to screw up, and everything that you're supposed to do, but that doesn't mean that you've been in that situation before. And so having to go in, I didn't have to go, ooh, like, am I ready for this? Am I not ready for this? Like none of that mattered. So you got put in the game. Don't F it up. Like that's literally all I could think about is don't screw this up, because that could come back on you as the only freshman on this team. And so we run the defensive play. I steal the ball at half court. We set up the offense. I go set up the offense. I get the ball, turn and shoot, miss, get my own rebound. Shoot, miss, get my own rebound. Shoot, miss. The buzzer goes off, and it's a tie ball game. And I get 2 free throws because I got fouled on that third shot. So all of that craziness based on training and things we know, I am now not only in a very scary situation, but I'm now in a very defining situation, because it could go into overtime or we could go to the playoffs. And there's a lot of things going on. And so they clear the court, and this freshman gets put at the free throw line. And I didn't have the best free throw percentage. It was not one of those things. Like it was, I was, okay as a freshman on my team. And I remember in those moments, like I had seniors on the court that were just coming up to me going, you got this, you're fine. And like, it was like almost like you just wanted to shrink. Like I felt like that moment when you define, like I could just shrink down in a ball and go, I don't really want to deal with this right now. Like that. I remember that feeling. And like, and so then go to the free throw line. Nobody's on the court. So it is me and the referee. And here's the ball, and you get to shoot. Like it was one of those moments that like in the schoolyard, you're just like last minute shot, like whatever. And it's like gym full of people, and handed me the ball and made the first free throw. Didn't even get to shoot the second one. And so that in itself defined us going to the playoffs. A freshman in a 5A school. How do you think my next morning was?
Shoot. Baller.
At that point, like, and it wasn't that I didn't know. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. My screen just went black. It wasn't that I didn't know I could play basketball. It was that moment all of a sudden let me know basketball could pay for my school. And so at that moment as a freshman, and what I could do, and I had ability, then my decisions going forward for the next 3 years where everything was geared towards what can I do and how do I make sure that this can pay for my school? Because my dad wasn't going to be able to do that.
Right.
And it did. And basketball paid 100% of my college. And when I left college, I had 0 debt. And so to me, defining moment when it was what it was for that school, but what it was for me. And how that changed my degree and my, my path going forward, 4, 5, 6 years later, because of that moment. To me, that was, it was crazy.
Yeah. So here's what's like for me, back to my towel being ripped off of me. And in that situation, it's like you could have crumbled, collapsed under all of that pressure.
Yes.
Because it is a lot of pressure. But putting the ball in the hoop is not that hard. Walking to my truck to get my cleat, that's easy. It's the decision to try to attempt the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now what's important is I operate on assumptions. We all do. And so I could have assumed that the vice principal was going to be right there at my truck when I went to open the door and I would be arrested, right, for indecent exposure, whatever. Mm-hmm. You could have assumed I'm a freshman. If it doesn't hit, it's not that big a deal. I'll have, at least I tried, and I have, the next 3 years, whatever. Mm-hmm. The assumption you made was I'm going to make the shot. I got a job to do. I'm going to make the shot. I want to be cool. I'm going to get my cleat, right? Like my point is, the decisions that we make, like we can fall victim or get crushed by the assumptions of the negative outcome. Mm-hmm. Or we can shine and grow on the assumptions of the positive outcome. Yes. What do you think about that, Jen?
I 100% agree. And it was, I mean, and like you said, like you didn't have a lot of time to overthink it.
Yep.
And I didn't have a lot of time to go, do I want to do this or not? Like it was those moments that we get put in a place, and we already know overthinking can be the killer of a lot of things. But in those moments, like how we make that decision, like I think we get so concerned with if we screw it up, or right. if we're, what if this isn't right? And I think we forget that in those moments, any decision we make, good, bad, or indifferent, that moves us in a direction is okay.
Yes.
It's when we don't make a decision and we're frozen and we just, I don't know. And it's whether it's curling up in a ball or it's the indecision is what is detrimental.
I 100% like make a damn decision and go there. Goes back to the top. We're talking about kids and how we raise the kids. There's a million ways to do it wrong. There's a million ways to do it right. Freaking do the damn thing and learn and adjust, right? Like we gotta continue moving forward. The indecision is really the issue. Fernando's dropping all kinds of comments here. He says, either you see the glass half full or half empty.
Yep.
And I'm going to disagree. I think a lot of people land in that, like they're either or. It's either half full or half empty. And I learned this from my brother Ernest, because they asked him, and we were like in freaking middle school maybe, and they had like, are you whatever half full? He's like, well, and like matter of factly, he's like, no, it's entirely full. And they're like, what do you mean? He's like, well, it's full of water and it's full of air. I'm like, because it is, right? Like full of what? And it's just a matter of how we decide to look at it.
Yep.
Do I want to look at the gaps? Do I want to look at the challenge as insurmountable, or do I want to look at the challenge as a learning experience? Right? Do I want the challenge to crush me and define me, or do I want to use the challenge as a springboard as to what I could be or how I could be seen? And we also got Mr. James Gable, the uncommon communicator, coming in. So how did it, so that was like the early signs of you being the famous lady, huh?
I don't know about all that. It was, but I'm going to say up until that point, flying under the radar, still, playing the sport, being a person in a very big school, like it was a moment the next day that all of a sudden notoriety and, just things that, you all of a sudden become this, you're known for something. And then the people that engage with you, the teachers that engage with you. And so there's all of that piece. And that wasn't where I got, I didn't get hung up on that. I didn't get, oh, this is me now. It was a shift in my thinking of this could pave the way for like my future. And, it didn't all of a sudden, I was one person before the free throw and one person after. In my mind, I thought I could do this out after high school.
Yeah. So
And
here's a question. How did you come to terms with all of a sudden being ultra popular, game winning, championship person holding because all you did was make a free throw.
you're
Like
right.
people do that all the time.
Mhm.
It didn't make you a different person, but it transformed the way people treated you. Same thing.
Yes.
How did you reconcile and come to terms with that? Because I think like the tribe members or people that watch the Omniverse on the replay, like, okay, that happens, but was it just like a piece you just kept going, or was there some growth that you had to experience to be able to deal with it responsibly?
Okay, well, I absolutely yes to all of that. And I will tell you, I did not respond to it the way you responded with your cleat on your junk. So again, you strutting around going, I'm good, everything's fine. Like I did not walk in the next day going, yeah, that was me. Like I even struggle with that now. And you know that, like, even when the light's shining on me and I'm getting recognized for things, I struggle with that. And so that's not me and who I am. So it was a lot for me on coming out of the shadows. And as you're a freshman in high school dealing with everything else, there was a lot of learning, and it was, having to got out of my comfort zone, like in a day. Like you can hide yourself in a basketball team, and you can hide yourself on being a part of a group and, and stuff like that in a day. Like the comfort zone that I had established, like I didn't have a choice. I couldn't just shrink back into that. And so it was one of the earlier things that one of the earliest times I remember that I didn't have a choice to get out of that comfort zone. I had to either sit there, and I couldn't discount it. But I remember my English teacher, Miss Chandler, I'm sitting at my desk the next day, and she comes up with a piece of paper, and she's like, can you just sign this for me? So when you're famous, I have your signature. I was a freshman in high school. But it was like, it was just things like that. And it was funny, and I smiled and stuff, but like it shifted people's thinking for me when they engaged with me. And so and so it's almost like a precursor for some of the things I've had to deal with later in life. But it was, you're having to go, how am I going to show up? And I felt some of that was responsibility. Some of that was now people were looking and paying attention to me. And so, how am I making choices? How am I engaging with people? How am I treating people? Like it made that growing and learning be bigger than just on the basketball court.
Yes. And I think that happens like wherever you have significant impact, right? Mm-hmm. Is it changes the way people see you. Mm-hmm. And you like, there's this new universe, like what the hell just happened? Yeah. I'm the same fool I was yesterday. Like what happened here? And Fernando, man, I'm telling you, he's dropping them. He says, be comfortable being out of the comfort zone. You will grow when you do not care what others think. Yes. Right? And so I used to tell when I also played baseball, and I would get all caught up in my head when I'd go up to bat. And coach would tell me, he's like, you get out of your head, like just hit them. You've been hitting the ball. You stay late all the time. Like, but you suck in a game. Like, I know, like, I don't understand why. And he hooked me up with this quote by Bruce Lee. And the quote is, the concept of self hinders the proper execution of all physical activity. So what was happening? And so like baseball, it's a little slower pace. So you get up there, get up. And I'm thinking, okay, I got a runner on first. I'm going to go opposite field so I can advance the runner. And oh my God. And I end up choking. And so I was thinking about too many things. Like, oh my God, I want to stay on JV. I want to stay on varsity. I want to go in the playoff. Like, just hit the stupid ball. But It's easy to say that. And for me, what I had to learn, like if I had the mindset that I do now, back then when I was in the batter's box, I would have performed dramatically different because I wasn't in my and so here's the interesting thing, right? Take my towel, force me to cover my junk with my cleats, not a problem. Put me in the batter's box, and I was gonna I would get in my head. So it was a lesson that Like it wasn't instant. It took time for me. I could apply it to most things. Some things I couldn't. Sarah says, yup, definitely signs of your rock star status. And then Sam made it in. What's up, Sam? Good morning, Sam. I'm not sure if you heard the cleat story, but don't judge me. Steve Martin shared one. His earliest defining moment, day one, his mom and dad giving him the name Steve Martin. Let's wind this kid up and see what happens. I like it. So I have another defining moment, and this one is like with all my clothes on.
Yes, I want to hear about this one.
and so this one was heavy. Like it didn't happen in an instant, like the damn towel. It happened over 12 miles. I was running at the time. I was training for a marathon. My goal was to run a marathon, 26.2 miles in under 4 hours before I turned 40. And this was like my third or fourth attempt. And it was the worst. I ended up crossing the finish line. It took me over 6 hours because I didn't train and, blah, blah, blah. It's hot and humid here in San Antonio. Anyways, the San Antonio Rock and Roll Marathon happens like this time of the year, November, December-ish. And the route is by my house. So we start downtown. It used to be we'd come down San Antonio River, go about 8 miles south and turn around and come back to downtown. And at like the 13th mile, I took a bio break and started cramping up. And I was like, oh, this is going to suck. And then there's 5 more miles out. And then you come back. So at the 13th mile, I was about 3 miles away from my house. Cramping up, miserable. And in my head, like immediately, it's like, dude, just go home, hydrate, give it another, you'll do it next year. You get a chance, right? Nobody was going to, very few people would judge me because I was crazy. Like I was getting all kinds of support and adoration for just training for a marathon. Cause it's, crazy people do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to quit. And so I kept on and then just kept degrading. It was, when I was running at my pace, the first 13 miles, I was passing people up. I'm like, man, I got them. Well, those damn people I was passing up and laughing at, they were passing me up. And it's just like, oh God, this sucks. And then there's like a slow bus. I call it the slow bus. Like with people that are lagging way behind, they have a bus to come pick you up and take you in because you ain't going to make it. They could see me hobbling around, like, get the hell away from me. Well, anyhow, make the turnaround, come back. And there's this trail. It's right by Riverside Golf Course, which is closer to my house.
Oh, gosh.
And I am struggling and I want to quit so bad because of the pain, my back. Like if you've ever had your ears cramp up, how bad, like my shoulders, my back, everything, just my feet were swollen. It was bad. And I wanted to quit. And then I said, no, I'm not going to quit. Yes, just quit. This don't make it. You're going to get hurt. Listen to your body. No, I'm not going to quit because, and then all of a sudden, as I got closer to my, I get chills because it was a crazy experience. As I got closer to my house, this is the house that my dad, like the neighborhood that my dad and my grandparents were from, right? Now my mom's side, my dad's side, over here by Mission Concepcion. And all of a sudden I started thinking about them. And I started thinking about all of the things that they sacrificed. And because my grandparents were migrant workers, they would pick fields. And some of the stories that I heard and the things that they went through, the things that they sacrificed to afford me the conveniences that I had. I started thinking about like all the illegal things that I did in my neighborhood that people still accepted me afterwards, right? Like there was just so many things that started running through my head. Like, how dare you quit after these people suffered and sacrificed and went through all the things that they went through? You want to quit because your legs hurt, because your feet are swollen? I started thinking, my mom back in the day, man, we didn't have a washing machine. She used to wash our clothes by hand. And she had, I don't know if you've seen those I don't know what you call them. It's like an aluminum thing where you kind of scrub the
washing board.
The washer board. Thank you. And it would be freezing cold outside. And that was set up outside, like on the little porch in the backyard. And she would be scrubbing our clothes, breathing steam, her knuckles all white and pink. And those images, I never think about that. But those images came into my mind. It's like they did this out of necessity, and you want to quit because you're sore, because your muscles are tight. I was a freaking mess. Like, I don't know why that happened, because I've run I think I've run 8 marathons now. Never have I had that kind of experience. But there was 2 big takeaways in terms of like this defining moment topic. One was all the times that I quit before, I quit because it's easy to quit. This time, for whatever reason, I knew that if I quit that time, I would be a quitter for the rest of my life. Period. Nobody would judge me for it except for me, and that would be like, it was clear as day. If I quit today, I am going to quit forever. The other piece of it was how I tapped into whatever that was I would say falls in the realm for me as miraculous.
Oh, so what I'm hearing, Jesse, is your fear of not doing it was bigger than the ease of quitting.
Yes. I was terrified because for whatever reason, nobody said it to me. There was nobody around. Everybody was passing my ass up. The message in me was, if you quit today, you're never going to stop quitting. So you got to keep going. You just got to go. It was funny because around a bunch of running friends here back when I was really into it, they were at a park. When I finally, like, I don't know, whatever happened, I loosened up and I was able to run like the last few miles, kind of run. And Minnie was like, Jesse, like, you looked mad. I was like, I was. She's like, you're always smiling. And I was like, I was pissed because I already knew there was no way I was going to reach my goal. I was going to have to train for another stupid marathon again. Like, all of that was out the window. I just needed to finish. But I knew quitting, I would never stop. Like, that would be the end of it. And when I'm faced with the same situation, when things are hard and painful and uncomfortable and like the outcome, there's no way I'm going to reach it. I now had this thing that I could tap into to keep going no matter what it felt like.
And I think one, that's the definition of a defining moment, but it's the, I guess, the feeling that you got and what you get to tap into. And I think I want to ask a little deeper question on the anger and that part of it. Like we always think, like, if someone's going through something and it's angry and frustrating, then it's negative. And it doesn't have to be, I guess, and maybe you can elaborate on being angry and frustrated and irritated to get through something or to have to endure something. It doesn't mean it's negative. It could just be because of the experience.
Yeah. No, it was there was a lot of anger. There was a lot. So some of the things that ran through my head were my failed marriages that I quit on. And I quit like that. Like it got less than awesome. Boom, I'm out. I mean, there was a lot more to it, but it was not as difficult a decision for me to make than as this was, which kind of doesn't make sense, but that's what it was. So I was I was angry at myself for all the times I quit because things weren't easy. I was angry at what my family had like not had to, but decided to do on my behalf, and how my life had been a reflection of me taking that for granted. I was angry that I wanted to quit. And then I was angry because I couldn't quit. Like, oh my God, it's right there. It's right, freaking, the house is right there. I could just go and get some Gatorade and like just chill and recover. There was a lot. And to your, I think part of your point is, and I've experienced this, is people are like, Jesse, just bat, like, it's not that big a deal. It's a game. It's not whether you win or lose. Like, shit, get away from me. Right? Get away from me. You can't understand what it means for me to quit. It's not like, it's dangerous. So I understand. Most people, it's not that big a deal. Get up, dust yourself off, do it again. I can't do that. I have to see it through and prove that I can't do it. I want to learn, can I or can't I? Not, I'll try again next time. If I fail,
you don't have that opportunity, right?
What's that?
When sometimes you don't have that opportunity.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like 100. And that was the thing. If I quit today, yeah, I could run another marathon, but I'll have quit.
And you can't run that one again.
I can't run that one again. It was that, like, those thoughts, those ideas, that awareness was never in my mind. And I'm not going to get it back. There's no way I'm getting that back. I will know, which was weird because the other stuff that I've quit in my life, I never had that awareness, right? Like, I just, oh, well, this sucks. I'm going to go do something else, or, whatever it is. All of a sudden, it's like, no. Like, Jesse, this is a big deal. Maybe it's because at that point in my life, I was closer to 40, and I had come, like, some maturity had happened, and I was aware of how that was a thing. But it was tough and it was hard. Like, there was a lot of angry, there was a lot of disgust, self-loathing, appreciation, gratitude. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, every step was just quit, shut your mouth, keep going, just quit, shut your mouth, keep, like, it was a battle for whatever it was the last few miles. It was something. And I'm grateful for it. It was a horrible, horrible time. But what I walked away with from that race, not necessarily not crossing the finish line, but that 5 or 6 miles where I was freaking less than 3 miles from my house and 12 miles away from the finish line, those were the hardest miles that I had ever crossed, and gave me or elicited the largest growth that I've ever had.
Well, and I know we're about to wrap up, but what I'm hearing is those defining moments, and I think this may be a follow-up conversation, but those defining moments are one thing. And then you used the word awareness. And so I think that it's not only those defining moments that we can know in our mind, we can go back and we can remember them, and we can know how we felt and know, the decisions we made in the middle of them, or, but when we're getting through them, and we talk about awareness, Jesse, I think we think aware, like, oh, all the clouds moved away and all the path is laid out in front of me. And from what you're defining, like, it was still fire, and it was rocks, and it was mountains, and it was all these things that are still in front of you. So it's like, just because we go through a defining moment, and just because we're starting to become aware of something, doesn't make it easy.
That's the damn truth. It didn't make things. Okay, this is where I'm at. Like, the amount of reflection that came from that experience, it still happens, right? Like, no, Jess, this is one of those times. Like, you can figure it out. You have to. And so then the question becomes, like, okay, personally, just me, like, so you're going to run a marathon, whoopee. Like, sure. And I understand, like, I now have an appreciation, which I didn't before, have an appreciation for people that are on the verge of quitting something, right? Something big. And I can have, what's the word? Empathy, right? And connect with them and help them see, like, one, is this a moment? Because I'm like, straight up, I kind of haphazardly made a comment about my marriages, but they were extremely unhealthy situations for me, like really, really, really. And so there's times where quitting is the right thing to do. That being said, it didn't take much for me to quit,
Right.
or I didn't put much effort into seeing that all the way through to the end. Like, what lesson did I learn from that I could share with other people? If you really look back at it, and there's a few stories in my book or that aren't in the book that people have at, like Louis asked me straight up. He's like, "Hey, Jess, why didn't you write about these things?" And I said, "Man, thank you for that question. It's because I haven't learned the lesson from it.
Ooh.
I quit before I could get the lesson." And so that's maybe the thing. That
The
sounds pretty.
learning part. And I think that's the biggest part, because even right now, I mean, I'm in the middle of kind of some mind shifting stuff, but it's the shift for me from the internal of this is about me, this is what I need to do, this is how it's going to impact me. The learning for me and what that growth for me is when I'm going through it and I get to the other side and that awareness shifts to other than me. And it goes back to me for you specifically, because you say it in your words and your actions, but when something shifts to the serving of other people and when it's outside of yourself, just like that shift and what that how that changes the way you show up and the way you think.
Yes, that's the thing, is can I help other people with this?
Mm-hmm.
And if I quit, for me, the loss is if I quit before I take something that I can pass on and use in service to others, that's absolute, right? I either win, learn, or I watch from the fence.
Yes.
Watching from the fence sucks. I hate that the most. And so I'm going to win. If I don't win, I'm going to learn something that I can help other people with.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way to have that happen is to stay in the game.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'm just watching through the gate. So
if we're learning by ourselves, then like, I mean, okay, that's great, but I mean, how is that helping better? How is that helping the world get better? How is that helping relationships get better? If we're somewhere and it's all about self.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So can you carry us on closing thoughts while I put the link everywhere?
Absolutely. Okay. So again, so many things today that we talked about. I think for me and Jesse, your stories were, I mean, some of us have heard them, but even some of the takeaways from it. But I want to hone in on those of you that are listening and those of you that come back and listen to this in the after party is I want you to, like, when you're thinking about those defining moments and thinking about the shift that happened because of those defining moments, like something that changed in your mind. I mean, and I'm sure you have a ton of those things, but I'm going to challenge you to also think about what happened on the other side and the awareness that happened within you, and challenge yourself to, did it still stay within me, or did that shift help me all of a sudden make it about other people and make it about the environment I'm in, the teams I work in, the family that that I'm a part of. Because sometimes we learn, but we're still making it about ourselves. And I think that's something big right now that that I'm dealing with. And I think that we're going to talk more about that in some future episodes, but just some big shifts of all of a sudden, it's not just about us. It's about the connections we have, the relationships we have, the engagement we have with other people, and how much we can influence how they show up and the things that they do. And our defining moments are pieces of that, because that helps us be more aware. But I think it's also that awareness on how we can see that in other people or we cannot see it in other people. And then we get to make a choice on, those are people I want to be around, or those are people that are not, or like Jesse said, that maybe the negative, the toxicity of it that we need to not be a part of. But also we can see opportunity. And I think this platform is a pure example of Jesse and I just talking about things, but then all of a sudden getting to see how it grows and how the connection and the community piece of this is, we can see things in ourselves, but we also know that everyone else out there that's listening can see that in each other. And all of a sudden now they can talk about it. And so are you creating an environment for people to talk and share about the things that we get to talk about on here?
Wow, girl, thank you. There's like a ton of, I just posted the link to the after party, folks. come on in. We want to hear your thoughts,
Yes.
your takeaways, the things you weren't able to share. We got I think this is a blue heart. Avianca Manning says, you either define the moments or let the moments define you.
Ooh,
Amen.
yes.
So come on to the after party. James shared his defining moment was when his dad suggested that he take the last quarter of junior college. He wanted to be a music major and work with him in construction for the quarter in the summer. He got some money, and guess what he's doing now?
Construction.
Yeah. Felipe says his early defining moment was deciding to embrace tech and build a computer in 8th grade. And it set him on the path that he's here for now, like an ever-living tinkerer.
I love it.
And so, here Steve Martin says he's always been super funny on the inside. Defining moment, having everyone start saying, "Okay, Mr. Funny Man, make me laugh." He had to shift and learn how to be witty on the outside. Oh yeah,
well, he's done a great job at that shifting. Just so you know,
he absolutely has. So yeah, I'll just echo what you said. And Fernando, thank you for jumping in and sharing so deep. Waking up early was totally worth it. Thank you for showing up, Lance. Everybody else, appreciate y'all very much. And like, I think what I would love for the folks out there, the No BS tribe in the Omniverse, to take away from this is you've had defining moments. We've all had them. We just may not have spent much time chewing on them and evaluating what was the lesson that we can share for somebody else. I think you said it. I want to repeat that. We've all had them. What I hope no one experiences like, well, I've never had to shoot the damn winning shot at the buzzer. Like, it doesn't have to be that. You don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to run 8 marathons to have one either. You have had them. Mm-hmm. What was the lesson, and what are you doing with that lesson? How are you using that lesson to serve others?
Yes.
And that is it. We will see you or hear you on the after party. The link is on all the places. Love to hear your voices and get your thoughts on today's conversation. And we appreciate you waking up early and spending Saturday morning with us.
Yes.
Again soon.